You are listening to Insurance Untangled podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. In this podcast, we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies for reducing your reliance on insurance. Join us as we interview industry experts, share success stories, and provide valuable insights to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. My name is Ben Tuine, one of the co-hosts of this podcast, and we're super excited to sort of cover today's topic. But before we get into that, just a quick plug for our Insurance Untangled webinar, which is going to occur on June 14th, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern and running till 3:30 p.m. Eastern. We have a really good lineup where we are going to be talking about, sort of the world of insurance, as you know. We have Gary Takis, who's sort of I personally believe that he's one of the premier coaches in terms of his understanding on how to transition out of network. So come to that meeting with your questions for him. And then we have Howard Farran, Dr. Howard Farran. Of course, most of you know who he is. He'll be coming on to join our business panel, along with Brian Hanks, who's a transition broker, one of the more popular ones in dentistry these days. But we have a really good lineup, as well as our existing insurance panel to talk about insurance-related questions. Particularly a topic of interest among listeners is the bloody prophy palace and how to deal with that from the perspective of patient care as it's tied to insurance billing, which is a big confusing part in the industry. So we'll talk about solutions there. So stay tuned to that. Check out insuranceuntangled.com, to register for that particular event. So today we have a really fun topic that we're going to be covering, and I'll be interviewing one of our co-hosts, Naren, a good friend of mine. Naren, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great.
Great.
I'm doing great, Ben.
Excellent. And I know that you're certified with Dr. Robert Cialdini's program here, which is what we're going to be talking about, which is all about the principle of influence, right? And so the topic for today's podcast is, are you using influence principles to attract and retain new patients? What a great topic. So here we go with our first question. So Naren, I know that Dr. Cialdini has this thing called principles of influence, and he has several of them, right? So what are the 7 different influence principles that Dr. Cialdini teaches?
Absolutely. Dr. Cialdini is the world's the most renowned expert when it comes to influence. So what is influence? How do you get people to say yes? And how do you do it in an ethical manner? Pretty much, if you apply the 7 principles, it creates a moment when you are 3 times more likely to get a yes or get compliant. So for example, a lot of doctors struggle with no-shows. Why is that happening? A lot of doctors have a hard time filling their appointments on the phone. Why is that happening? A lot of doctors are not able to, get people to accept cases or, case presentations and treatment recommendations. Why is that? So to answer those questions, you can leverage these influence principles. So the key is these 7 principles create a moment. In that moment, people are 3 times more likely to say yes. But if you don't use that moment, let's say the moment is created right now and you try to take advantage of that moment 10 minutes later, it's not going to work. So the key is you have to use the moment immediately, like not later, like at that moment. So what are the 7 principles? The first one is reciprocity. So the idea that if you do something good for somebody else, the moment they're feeling grateful, they're 3 times more likely to, acknowledge or accept your request for something else you need from them. Commitment and consistency. Commitment is the idea that we are committed to certain things we are taught from our parents, like speak the truth, respect your elders. These are values we are taught. So we are committed to that. And sometimes we are committed to a promise we make. Like Ben and I said, we're going to talk at a certain time. He's committed, I am committed. Why? Because we made a commitment to each other. So we are committed to the commitments we make to each other, just like we are committed to values. And then what we see happening is we act consistent with those values or consistent with those commitments. And of course, there are stronger commitments and weaker commitments. A written commitment is stronger than a verbal commitment. A commitment that's made in public is stronger than a commitment that's made in private. I mean, for example, marriage, right? It's not a secret vow that you and your spouse takes. You do it in front of people. So now you are much more committed because you did it, in front of so many others. So that's the second principle: commitment and consistency. The next one is social proof. So the idea here is, if others think something is good, we think something is good. Like, for example, you may have noticed a lineup after, around an ice cream store or even restaurants. I was in Boston not too long ago, and there was this one restaurant that had, only like 17 seats. And I don't know, only because they only have 17 seats, but there was a lineup, and we ended up standing in line, even though we've never heard of this restaurant, for 2 hours just to get in, and they're just serving pasta. But well, if other people think it's good and they're willing to spend 2 hours standing in line, I'm willing to do the same as well. So the idea that we want things, when we see others doing it, we want those things that others are wanting. So that's social proof. A classic example of social proof is Google reviews. You may have seen, like, some practices have 100, some even have 1,000 reviews, 5-star reviews. So typically those practices have no problem convincing somebody to come in, because if 1,000 other people think it's good, it must be good. That's the subconscious, rationale we go through. Authority, right? Oprah when we think of authority, we think of Oprah. If Oprah says you should read a book, millions of people go buy that book. It changes the rankings. Not only does it push up that book, it pushes down every other book that's not on that list. So authority is very powerful. We listen to authority figures. From the time we are children, we are told to listen to our principals, our teachers. Same way, when we see somebody as an authority, we tend to trust them immediately and therefore take their advice. Liking, there's a famous saying, right? We do business with those we like. So if I have to choose between someone I like and someone I don't like, I'm going to choose the one I like. So how do you get people to like them? Be interested in them. Talk about the things that's worrying them, that's concerning them. Me, talking about me doesn't work. So I know some people like brag about themselves every chance they get on social media, etc. That's not a good thing. That doesn't create liking. It actually creates, a little bit of, the opposite of liking towards you. So focus on other people, help them get what they want. That's the secret to liking. Scarcity, right? I mean, I already talked about that line in Boston, and one of the reasons that motivated us is the line itself, and you have to wait 2 hours when you cannot have something you wanted. Apple is famous for this. Every time they come up with a product, they make a little bit less than what they know the demand is going to be. Why? That way there's always scarcity. It's hard to get the product for a few weeks. The more you can't have it, the more you want it, which then fuels that need to wanting to getting that product. Scarcity is really, really powerful. Unity, that's his newest one he came up with. And the idea here is that we tend to, identify with groups. And when we identify with groups, we move with those groups. For example, I'm sure those who watch Fox News or CNN, either you are in this camp or that camp. Usually the other one is the enemy, and whatever these guys say is the gospel truth. So we tend to identify ourselves with the groups we think we belong to. So that is a principle that he didn't talk about in his original book when he wrote it in the 80s, but it's something he came up with recently, and I think he has been observing it. Dr. Cialdini is a scientist. He's a PhD in psychology. So he doesn't make any of this stuff up without research. So that's the seventh principle, unity.
That's excellent. Lots of thoughts that come to mind, but it makes total sense in terms of those being principles of influence. Makes perfect sense to me. I understand that you're trained by Dr. Robert Cialdini, Naren. So I believe you're allowed to train others. Is that right? Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. I'm trained and I'm allowed to train others. So what I have done is I've taken all his influence principles and then converted them to dentistry. And, at no cost, if you go to influencefordentistry.com, you can learn more about the different courses we have and how we are bringing this to the entire world. So if you're a client of Equa, we offer it for free. So if you're a client of Equa, or you are affiliated with one of our clients, maybe one of our clients gave you a ticket, you get to access all this content for free. The idea here is, learn these principles, apply them, because, when my clients are successful, meaning they are converting more new patient callers, they are booking more appointments, they are getting their patients to accept treatments, that means my clients are going to be successful, which means I'm going to be successful, right? So anything we can do to help the industry and help dental practice owners, master influence, we are for it. So go to influencefordentistry.com. You can learn a lot about the different courses we have. These are all webinar type courses, typically 1 hour, 90 minutes. So you can get a lot. And plus you get CE as well. So definitely take advantage of all the resources available to you at influencefordentistry.com.
That's awesome. I'm gonna check that out for sure. I think this whole idea of influence is very helpful, especially when you're talking about that relationship dynamics with the patients, right? As far as social proof is concerned, Naren, that you mentioned before, how can one leverage social proof as a way to attract new patients into a dental practice?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we talked about Google reviews, right? So step one is get those reviews. Step two is make sure those reviews are leveraged everywhere possible. So we pretty much embed Google reviews in all the pages that are ranking on as Google. So if I Google, Invisalign, and your website shows up at the very top for free through SEO, search engine optimization, then on that page, we should incorporate those Google reviews, especially those 5-star Lovelet reviews. So we have done that. And that's an example of how to apply social proof, like, show that you have so many reviews, make it easy for people to access those reviews. So whether they are on, whether they find you on Google Maps or not, you still want to make it easy for them to know that you have so many positive 5-star reviews. So that's a simple example of, how to use social proof on your website. You can also do graphics. So you can take a graphic of a review. You can say, hey, thank you, Joanne, for this wonderful review. And you can just quote her and then put it on your social media. So, and again, you can say, as seen on Google. So this, the customer knows or the patient knows that this is a real patient saying wonderful things about you. And they're seeing that review in as many places as possible. So that's how you leverage social proof.
Excellent. You mentioned reciprocity as well. In terms of what reciprocity is, like how can you leverage reciprocity to get 5-star Google reviews?
Yeah, reciprocity is very, very, very powerful. So this is the idea that, when somebody does something for us, we feel like we have to pay it back. So one of the things that a lot of practices struggle with is how do I get 5-star Google reviews myself, meaning as a practice owner? And the best way to do that is to talk to patients and appreciate them. So for example, a patient comes in, all of us have a favorite topic, right? For some of us, it's, that toy that we bought, the tech gadget we bought, or the car we bought. For others, it could be gardening. For a proud dad or mom, it could be the kid in university. So whatever that sweet spot topic is, talk about it, bring it up. So now the patient is in a happy place. They are very grateful that you remembered, you asked about whatever is important to the patient. Now the patient feels good about your practice. Then you say something like, I really appreciate you coming in. By the way, we appreciate you as a patient. Every time we see you on our schedule, we get super excited. You are one of our model patients. Thank you so much for being just an amazing patient. Just appreciate them, especially after, you talk about the thing that they want to talk about. That human touch, that relationship, that care that you're showing now makes them grateful to you, meaning they feel like they need to do something nice. What do? Anytime you compliment them, they thank you back. They say, the feeling is mutual. I love coming here. You guys take care of me like family. I've been coming here for 25 years, and I even drive 30 miles to come here because like I would not go anywhere else. Just you are such an amazing, practice that's just part of my healthcare family. So when they compliment you, that's when you can ask them for a review. So remember, the key is the moment. So they just showed that they're grateful, showed that they're appreciative. That's when you ask for the review. You say something like, thank you so much for sharing this. It means a lot to me. Can I ask you for a tiny favor? And they're going to say yes, right? Why? Because they are 3 times more likely to say yes. And the favor is, hey, let me send you a quick text. Can you write a review for us? Include everything you just said. Why? Because we want to serve more people exactly like you. So your words, your reasons will help others like you find us. That would really, make our day. So understand how to use influence principle. I know I'm trying to summarize it in a few minutes. Some of the courses could be days because it takes time to kind of absorb it and, apply it and then practice it.
Yeah. I could see here, after you explained reciprocity, I understand it a lot better now as it pertains to soliciting positive feedback from patients, and I think that's really powerful. One other thing that you mentioned there is authority, and you talked about how Oprah, she has a great deal of influence, right? How what is authority as it pertains to dentistry, like dental practice, and how can one sort of leverage authority in a way that'll help a practice grow?
Yeah, I mean, the million-dollar question is how do we be seen as Oprah, right? Like, in other words, we don't need to become Oprah, but at least when it comes to case presentation, if our clients saw us as authority figures, they're much more likely to accept our recommendations. Imagine you're talking to Oprah and Oprah says, you need to do this. You're going to listen to her, even though she might not be an expert in that topic. Because she's Oprah, you will listen to her. Whatever she says, you think is golden. That's how she's able to sell or drive the sale of 55 million books, in the last, couple of decades. So how do you become an authority? So we have a platform called Doctor's Choice Awards. It has thousands and thousands of doctors by now, and you will get a page on that. So anybody can get it. It's no cost. Go to doctorschoiceawards.org and request a listing. And once you have a listing, send it to your friends, send it to your colleagues who are also doctors, and have them write reviews for you. See what makes somebody an authority. A couple of things make somebody an authority. You are on TV, people think you're an authority. So, get on internet TV and then leverage those videos. So as seen on Newsweek, as seen on ... So the more they see you on other places, more they think you're an authority. Another way to become an authority is win awards. So if you have won awards, highlight it. Or the other way to become an authority is get the insiders to say you are good. For example, my dad, who passed away in 2011, had dementia, and I didn't talk to anybody. I talked to my friends who happen to be doctors. Why? They know who the other top doctors are who are good at treating dementia. So we tend to lean on other experts, especially the insiders, for their advice anytime something is important to us. So imagine having all these reviews from all these other doctors, 5, 10, 15, saying you are just the best, you like writing paragraphs saying how amazing, and every one of them is an MD or a DDS. Now they're like, wow, if other doctors think you are good, you must be good. That's the subconscious mind, subconscious thinking. The other thing we do is if you have the most number of reviews in your town or city, we'll also give you an award. So one other way you can be seen as an authority. Awards position you as an authority. So highlight these things, right? Highlight these reviews from insiders, other doctors, or highlight these awards. Or get on TV. Again, we help our clients get on, Video 360, which is our own platform. And then we showcase those videos on the website. So they're like, wow, here is somebody featured, but this video that I'm watching was also seen somewhere else. So I trust that video more because it's as seen on some other platform. So lots of ways to, get people to see you as an authority. And once they see you as an authority, that'll drive up case acceptance, that'll drive up new patients, that'll reduce no-shows, because we don't want to disappoint somebody famous, right? So there's so many benefits.
Yeah, I agree. I remember years ago, there was a dentist in Mississippi that won, I can't remember the exact award, but it was a Best Dentist award. And the office manager got the mayor, all the politicians in the state, the governor, and even the president of the United States to write a congratulations note to this particular dentist. And when you walk into the office, into the reception area, there's a big sign in a giant frame that says something along the lines of directly from the president of the United States of America about Dr. So-and-so. And it was a framed letter from the president. It was Barack Obama at the time, who signed a letter of congratulations to this doctor for being awarded top dentist. And the interesting thing that happened is that just from a sheer marketing perspective, the practice blew up with new patients. Mind you, Mississippi, here's a funny thing is a lot of the southern states, especially Mississippi, at the time, when you look at the politics, it was in the opposite direction of who was sitting in office at that time, the Oval Office, that is. And yet, that sort of congratulations from people that we look at from the perspective of authority, whether we like them or not, it did result in a lot of positives for this practice from just a pure growth perspective. So there's proof in the pudding with what you're saying about authority. It's that it totally works. So Naren, in terms of these principles, these are all really great principles. But if I'm looking at it from the perspective of my online presence, marketing, website, how can a dentist effectively leverage these principles in a way that'll be meaningful for them from an online presence perspective?
Yeah, I would recommend book a marketing strategy meeting. And Ryan Davis is somebody you will talk to. He's also trained by Dr. Robert Cialdini. He's able to, he practice these principles. So I would have him go through and give you feedback on how you are doing with these principles. So personally, like, he will look at your online presence, he will look at your Google reviews, he will look at your website and give you some feedback. So get somebody who knows what they're doing to audit you, to see how well you are applying or not applying these online principles. And if they are applying these, if you are applying the online principles, understand it and do more of it. If you're not, or there are opportunities to apply more, then definitely do that as well. So when we work with clients, we look at like more than 10 different things we can do to apply these influence principles. The beauty of the internet and the beauty of the website is they work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you could be on vacation, or you could be, having a weekend with your family, but these influence principles are influencing people to choose you, like you, trust you, and therefore become your patients for life. So take advantage of that. The link is insuranceuntangledcom/MSM, insuranceuntangledcom/MSM.
Excellent. Well, Naren, this was a fun episode. It was very educational from the perspective of sort of learning about one of the most powerful skill sets, in my opinion, one of the most powerful skill sets somebody can have. And that's the principle of influence. So we appreciate you, Naren. So fun learning from you and hearing what you have to say on all these various topics. So to our listeners, just as a heads up, we are now live on YouTube if you haven't checked that out just yet. So you can check out our YouTube channel and subscribe, you can find us at Insurance Untangled, and then also hit that notification bell to stay updated on the latest episodes and content. We'd like to thank you for joining us today, especially Naren. Thank you for your great and wonderful content there that you shared and good education. What an amazing episode regarding the principle of influence. So for those of you that enjoy this episode, don't forget to share this with your friends and your family on social media. We also appreciate reviews that will most certainly help other doctors find us. So don't forget to do a nice review for us on any platform that you use. And by the way, don't forget to visit insuranceuntangledcom for more information, especially about our upcoming webinars that we'll have, including any other extra freebies that we'll be posting on that particular website. Until next time, have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.